Hey guys, this is Matt, and you're watching TV Punch for Monday, October 26th, and today I'm going to talk about the series premiere of Supergirl. This premiered on CBS just a few hours ago, and I watched it with some kind of low expectations, and I'm going to let you know what I thought. But before I do that, let me say be careful for spoilers. If you haven't watched the episode yet, pause this, go watch it, and come back. You'll be glad you did. But let me get right into it. Now, normally I like to run through some quick hits and then some major plot points of each episode or each series. This being the very first episode, I don't really know what the major plot points are yet, so I'm just going to kind of run through some of the things I noticed, some of the initial thoughts that I had, and then I'll be covering this as it airs each week. So as we get later into the series, I'll be hitting some of those larger plot points. So Kara Zor-El is Superman or Kal-El's cousin from Krypton. She is working at Catco, which is owned by Cat Grant, who's a well-known character from the comics. Catco is kind of a media conglomerate, and in this series, they're headquartered in National City, which I don't think is in the comics at all. I've never heard of it before. The reason I had sort of low expectations is because when maybe the first couple trailers hit, it had a very Devil Wears Prada feel to it, and that's fine. I guess I'm not the demographic for that, and so that's not exactly what I wanted. But I'm happy to say that feeling, that sort of atmosphere that it gave, didn't last very long. So sure, she's an assistant for a very powerful CEO of a very powerful company, and she's fetching coffee and doing all these menial tasks. But that doesn't last long at all. They didn't waste any time getting right into the meat of the show, right to the action. But before I talk about that, I'm going to run down the list of supporting characters that we'll be getting with this series. The first one being Alex Danvers. So this is Kara Zor-El's sister. So Kara Zor-El was taken in by the Danvers family. Superman put her there. The way they played that off is that this family helped him discover his own powers when he first came to Earth and was emerging as Superman. We have James Olsen, as he's known in this show. Really, it's Jimmy Olsen, but he's basically moved to National City from Metropolis. And we find out a little bit later in the episode that he moved there as a favor to Superman to sort of keep an eye on Kara, to make sure that she was okay, for one, but that she sort of found her path. He explained that Superman wanted Kara to choose this superhero lifestyle on her own and not do it because she felt she had to live up to his expectations. So James is a great addition to this show. We also have Kara's friend Win Scott, who in the comics is the Toy Man, but in this show he's actually more of a friend of Kara's that actually works at Catco with her. He is like an IT guy. There's a scene where he hacks into something. So I thought that was a little weird. We're going to get another show with another young hacker that can hack into anything. But he looks like he's going to serve as some comedic relief too, and he helped her design her costume. I mentioned we have Cat Grant, who's the CEO of Catco. Again, she is a well-known character in the comics, and she was in Lois and Clark show from back in the 90s. She's a little different in this. She's more confident, powerful. She's not quite the same character. We have Hank Henshaw, who in the comics is known as the Cyborg Superman, at least in the pre-Flashpoint universe. In this show, he is the head of the DEO, which is the Department of Extra Normal Operations, and so that's kind of a change to the whole mythos. Is Kara, or Supergirl, is going to be working with this organization instead of just sort of being her own hero. She's going to kind of work with this top secret government organization that was established in response to her and Superman arriving on Earth in the first place. Their mission is to basically track and to eliminate alien threats if they need to. The weird thing about it is there's quite a lot of people that work there, and we find out that her sister Alex is one of those people. But there's a lot of people that work there, and apparently they all know Supergirl's secret identity. So hopefully they sign some sort of NDA or something like that, or some kind of no-compete clause, where they're going to go work for another government agency and they could reveal that. I thought that was a little bit weird. They didn't really mention it, so I guess it'll be okay. Most of them are just background characters, but it is kind of weird that you got this whole organization full of people, and they're referring to Kara by her first name, and they're talking about how she's related to Alex. But we'll see how that goes. We met Allura Zor-El, which is Kara's mom, and at the end of the episode, we actually met her Aunt Astra, I think is the right name, who looks to be her mom's twin sister, and she looks like she's going to be the big bad, if you will, of at least this first season. Now, we know that her mom died when Krypton exploded, but we have her aunt running around. We don't know how she survived. Presumably, she came from the Phantom Zone. I'll talk about that in a minute. But we only get a taste of her at the end of this episode, but we do have more of her in the next episode. It looks like she's actually fighting Supergirl. So we'll see how involved she is with the rest of the season. And then the last two characters, I don't know how prevalent they'll be in this series, but we actually, we meet her mom and her dad, the Danvers that she lives with. And it was really cool because her mom was played by Helen Slater from the Supergirl movie from the 80s. And her father was played by Dean Cain from Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman from the early 90s. So that was a nice little throwaway. They had very, very few lines. I don't think Dean Cain even had any speaking parts whatsoever. But that was a nice nod to the fans and a nice nod to the mythos and the other series and stories that have come before. So I look forward to seeing them. I think they'll be a nice addition to the show, but time will tell how much we see of them. We got a lot of references to Superman in this first episode. They do actually mention him by name once or twice, so the episode opens with Kara sort of narrating what had happened, how she got to Earth, how she grew up, and things like that, and she did reference Superman by name. But throughout, and we get a brief glimpse of him. We don't see his face, obviously. They didn't cast an actual actor to play him, but we didn't need that because it's not about him. But it was nice that they established him in this universe. They did reference him quite a bit. Almost thought it was maybe a little bit too much. They made constant references to her cousin. They referenced the Man of Steel once or twice. There was things like, oh, my cousin didn't do that, or my cousin does this, or my cousin wears a cape, or you and your cousin did this. So there were many references to her cousin, and again, I think maybe it's a little bit too much, but I do expect that to slack off a little bit. This first episode, they're just trying to establish the universe and where her place is in this overall universe. I don't think they're going to continue to beat that into our heads. We get it. She's Superman's cousin. Awesome. She has all the same powers. She wears the same emblem. All that stuff. But it was a little much, but if it keeps going, I'll get a little perturbed. But for this one episode, it was okay. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, they didn't waste any time getting into the action. We got a little taste of what could have been a cheesy rom-com show, but that didn't last long. Her very first big action sequence was her rescuing a plane, just the way we've seen Superman do in the 1986 John Byrne reboot of Superman. He rescued a plane there. We saw it in Superman Returns in 2006. We've seen it several times, but this was a great sequence, which leads me to talk about the effects in this show. And for the most part, the effects were actually really, really well done, especially for a TV show. I had low expectations for the show overall based on the story. I didn't think the effects were going to be that great. But for a primetime network TV show, the effects were really good, especially the flying effects, which I really didn't think were going to be that great at all. But that whole opening sequence, it wasn't an opening sequence, but that whole first big action sequence with her lifting up the plane and flying it over a bridge and all of this stuff, it was really, really well done. The only time I kind of thought it faltered a little bit was in her end battle with this episode's main villain. I kind of thought it looked a little bit wire-worky, if that's a word. I thought it looked a little hokey, but just in a few spots. Overall, the effects were really good. Her heat vision is blue, which, okay, maybe it's that hot that it's like blue flame. I don't really get that, but regardless, it looked good. For the most part, the flying looked good. The X-ray vision looks really nice. They mentioned she went to a place where she was trying to see through the walls, and it was lined with lead, and they mentioned that. I was really impressed with it. I was really impressed with most of the action in this. Most of the fight scenes were really well done. She did get her ass kicked a few times, which is neat because part of this show is going to be her learning to become a hero. She even made mention that she's learning all this. This is all new to her. So that's going to be really great. And if the effects can keep up and this level of action can keep up, then I think we're really in for a treat. And then I think that, like I said, the other fight scenes with this week's main villain were pretty good. And part of this story is that her ship, when it escaped Krypton, it got trapped in the Phantom Zone for I think they said 24 years, and then somehow managed to get out. And that's why, even though she's older than Superman, she's actually looks younger. But when her ship escaped the Phantom Zone, and again, I don't know if they're going to explain how that happened or not, but this Kryptonian prison actually came through with her and crash landed on Earth, and all of these extraterrestrial and alien convicts escaped. So that's going to be the main premise for this show, is her taking on all of these escaped criminals, all of these escaped alien criminals. They all have various powers, or I'm assuming anyway. So she's going to have to take them down with the assistance of the DEO. So that's going to be great. That's going to open the door for a lot of villains. We've seen Reactron. We've seen Red Tornado, he looks terrible. And I don't know that he'll be part of that because he's supposed to be a hero in the comics. But it just opens the door for a lot of villains, and I'm excited to see who they bring on. So that was some of the high points that I noticed that I wanted to mention. I know this is kind of a short video, but again, I want to see a few more episodes. I want to see where this season is going, where the series is going, before I really start forming opinions about things and touching on plot points and where things are going and what's going to happen. We don't get a lot of that yet in this debut episode. Again, it's just setting everything up. But I will say that I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I give this 2 thumbs up. Not that I rate things like that, but definitely it was very, very well done. I think you should stick with it or give it a shot at least. I don't think everybody loves it. I read some stuff online that not everybody's a fan, but I think the overall general consensus is that this is very good. It's or if nothing else, the general consensus is that it's better than people thought it would be. So I'm a fan. I'm going to keep watching, and I'm going to keep covering it for sure. So if you want to see those videos or anything else that we post, be sure to subscribe by clicking the button below. Or if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can check it out on youtube.com/nerdpunch. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, both of those at nerdpunch. And you can check out nerdpunch.com, where we're posting some other cool stuff that we find online. And you can also check our schedule of upcoming videos. We do have a lot of them. I'm a little behind on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The next one of those premieres tomorrow night, and I still have to do last week's. So we're a couple episodes behind on The Walking Dead. So I'm going to try to get all that done. I'm going to have a couple comic reviews that I'm going to be doing soon too. And then there's Flash tomorrow, Arrow on Wednesday. Those videos we'll be posting. Those ones should be pretty timely. So be sure to check back to get all that. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.